One of the biggest problems with the public school system is that everything is designed to appease the average. So the curriculum becomes cookie cutter, but as you know and as I know, children are not cookie cutter. So everything becomes about teaching to the test and the standardized test, because ultimately the school, the funding, the teachers, and the students themselves are judged by how much they can memorize and how much they could repeat. So the teacher is forced to teach a really rigid curriculum. They actually don't have a lot of flexibility outside of the strict standards that they're given. And perhaps more damaging than even that, teachers have to operate on a very strict time schedule that they really can't deviate from. So because of that, everything is designed for the average student. But the students who fall behind, or the students that are capable of going ahead, in a way they both get left behind. So you have group A and they're struggling and they start to fall behind. So maybe the class is doing addition and subtraction, they're working on mathematics, and after 3 months, they're going to move on to multiplication and division, whether that child is ready or not. Now, anyone with common sense knows that if a child is struggling to do basic addition and subtraction, they are not ready to advance to multiplication. So the common sense solution would be, let's slow down, let's master this one skill, and then once we take the time, once we do it right, once we master that skill, we'll go forward and work on multiplication and subtraction. I remember when I was a kid, I worked with one of the most prestigious soccer coaches on Long Island, and he wouldn't let me work with my left foot until I mastered my right foot. But that's not what happens in school. So what you get is children who say, I hate school, or school is for nerds, because it becomes a defense mechanism. Then you have group B, and they're ready to go ahead, but they can't go ahead. They're forced to wait for everyone else. Now, imagine being this child who masters addition and subtraction after 1 week. They're able to do all the basics of addition and subtraction. Well, now they have to wait 3 entire months of doing problems that they could solve like the back of their hand. They're not allowed to go forward to multiplication and division. So naturally, this child becomes very, very bored, and ultimately they're really being held back from reaching their full potential. And this leads to students who really stop respecting the school system. They see the problem with it from a very young age. And they would be able to tell you that education should be customized to the individual learner. It should go at the pace of the student. It should follow the learning style of the student. And it should allow students to follow their interest. And we'll get back to that. But if a child is struggling, an educator should be able to slow down that clock and let them take as long as they need to master one skill before getting to the next skill, because the goal shouldn't be to follow some artificial time frame. The goal should be to produce an 18-year-old who has mastered as many skills as they can, to produce an 18-year-old that knows how to do basic addition, basic subtraction, and then multiplication and division. But when you make that child rush and go forward, they're not going to learn any of it. And every one of us knows that that's true. And then when you have a child that excels, a child that masters addition and masters subtraction in 7 days, you should be able to speed that clock up and go at their pace. And this is the major advantage that homeschool parents have over the public school system. And I always get teachers who chime in and say, well, it's not a fair comparison because we have to teach a full classroom of children. So how could we possibly customize education to each individual child. And what they don't realize is when they make these comments, they are proving my point that the public school system inherently is not as flexible and capable of properly educating children as parents are. And this is why you typically see homeschool students who not only do better, homeschool students outperform their public school peers, and this is proven by a 2009 study in mathematics, in science, in social studies, in English, on every observable, objective measure, the ACT, the SAT, the Iowa State practice test. Homeschool students, by a very wide margin, outperform their public school peers, to the point in which you will regularly see homeschool students graduate not only high school early, but they'll graduate college at 19, 20 years old because they have been able to go at their own pace, follow their own learning style, and follow their interests. So if they master something, well, then they could move forward and go on to the next thing. Or, and this is just as powerful, if they master addition and subtraction in 7 days, and they were scheduled to do it for the next 3 to 6 months, well, they could go and do multiplication and division next, or they can use all of that free time that they don't need to do division and subtraction and use it to pursue other things, to study things that they want to study, to follow their interest. And this is where the concept of unschooling comes in, where homeschoolers really get that advantage. If your child shows interest in something, then let them pursue it. And then the parent, rather than being just the teacher, becomes the guide. You're into photography. Why don't you try to start a seasonal photography business? You can make some money October, November, December. Grandma and grandpa, they're going to want to do a Christmas photo. Your aunt, your uncle, those families do Christmas photos. You could offer to take their Christmas photos and you could actually earn some money doing it. And then they could learn about bank accounts, and they could learn about accounting, and they could learn all of these ancillary skills where you're serving as the guide who kind of guides and kind of challenges them to follow that interest and take on more and more challenges. And of course, you should be able to teach them by their learning style. So some children are auditory, some children are visual, some children learn kinesthetically, some children learn by reading, and some children learn by doing. And through homeschooling, by getting off of that rigid public school schedule, you are able to give all of that to your children. And this is the type of thing I love to help parents with, to help them do with their children. You could do it on your own, but if you want help doing it, I would love to help. Check us out, classicallearner.com, and let's build the future for our children that they truly deserve. classicallearner.com.